Greetings loyal subscribers and honoured guests. It's been a while since my last full-on review, but I have just recently finished Assassin's Creed Odyssey and wanted to make sure that I share my thoughts with you. I was quite sceptical of this game at first because it was released so closely to Origins, a game I really enjoyed. I thought it was going to be too similar and I would get bored of it after a few hours. However, all of the improvements that Ubisoft have made over Origins had me hooked, and I ended up spending 110 hours exploring the ancient Greek world. I'm not totally done yet either. Let's break down the reasons why I found this game to be so compelling then, shall we? Odyssey begins at the Battle of the Hot Gates of Thermopylae, made famous by the movie 300. During this section you take control of Leonidas himself, though of course things do not end well for him. After this you are given the choice of two different protagonists, Alexios or Cassandra, who are brother and sister. I chose Cassandra and I'm quite glad I did. While the basic outline of the story is the same for either one of them, there are subtle differences that I will touch upon further when I get to the sound and music section. Very early on, tragedy befalls your character of choice, and they are separated from the rest of their family. From that point on, the driving force of the plot is to be reunited with them, a quest that will see you travelling across all of the Greek world, which is vast, about 3 times the size of the map from Origins, supposedly. As you continue through the game, several other major plot strands will become clear, which are interwoven with the main plot at various points but also separate from it at other times. In order to fully complete Odyssey, you will need to finish all 3 narratives, something I found great enjoyment in doing, though it is a huge time investment. Throughout the various islands there are optional quest chains that span 4 or 5 quests and give you a bit of progress to one of your main objectives at the end, and more often than not the stories and characters from these quests are really interesting and worth taking the time to complete. Cassandra herself ended up being one of my favourite protagonists in the series overall, every bit a match for Ezio, Edward, Evie Fry and Bayek. My only minor quibble with the plot is that there isn't much of a sense of closure at the end. There's no end credits to give you a sense that things have wrapped up, though the story does kind of continue into the DLC, so maybe after that has concluded I will get my wish. I will find out in about 3 months, I guess. While the visual fidelity of Odyssey is fantastic, especially on the Xbox One X, I don't think it is a huge leap over that of Origins. In fact, I think it is the exact same engine running both games. Also, at least at first, little details that were present in Origins were missing in Odyssey, such as characters getting wet in water and then wringing themselves off, or torches burning cobwebs while exploring the tombs. These are subtle things, but they add to the atmosphere of the game, and I definitely noticed when they were patched in later. The vast world that Odyssey has been set in has been vividly brought to life though, and it is a treat to run around the countryside, taking in the lush verdant grass, the bright blue skies, or enjoying a sunset on the beach somewhere. While some of the wow factor is diminished because the game is very similar to its predecessor at first glance, it does a very good job at getting the little details right. You can watch villagers going about their daily tasks, and they will accurately perform whatever it is that they are doing. Very impressive. The score for this category has dropped to an 8 because I don't think the music is quite as memorable or as effective overall as it has been in previous games. I do think it's an improvement over Origins, and certain pieces are great, such as the main theme and some of the battle music, but it just doesn't match up to the work of Jesper Kyd or Lorne Balfe from the early games. As for the voice acting, the lady who performs as Cassandra is really great. She delivers a cheeky, playful performance that manages to sound kind when it needs to be and threatening at other times. I decided to play her as a generally nice, helpful person who often did things out of the kindness of her heart, even if there was money to be made, except where her friends and family were concerned. If they were threatened, then she would show whoever was after them no mercy whatsoever. I haven't really spent any time with the Alexios version of the main character, but from what I have heard, he comes across a bit more cocky and arrogant. I much prefer the gentler portrayal given by Cassandra. Sound effect work is solid all round. There are some particularly satisfying woof sounds as you set something alight, be it a crate of supplies that the Athenian army needs, or an unfortunate soldier just doing his duty. There is a mechanic in both Origins and Odyssey that has me totally addicted and is a large contributor to the huge amount of time I've spent with both games. On the map you will find dozens of question marks, much like The Witcher 3 beforehand. Every single one of these has a checklist of objectives for you to tick off, such as killing 2 captains, 1 pole mark, setting fire to 5 supply crates, stealing 3 treasures and finding a stone tablet with a treasure clue on it for a medium-sized fort. For completing all of this, you finish that spot on the map and receive a healthy dose of experience points for your trouble. There's something incredibly addictive and relaxing about going around the world and completing every single location on the map, at least for me. What made this game superior to Origins for me were the expanded RPG mechanics. Previously, your armour was just made up of 1 complete outfit that was only really cosmetic. In Odyssey, armour is broken down to 5 different component parts, each of which have their own visual look and statistics, so the amount of loot that you can find is much greater, and therefore searching treasure chests remains worthwhile all the way through the game. Odyssey also brings back naval combat and your own ship, the Adrestia. That is also fully upgradable, and to do so you will need to collect quite a bit of wood, stone and leather on your travels. I never really went out of my way to find any of these materials though. As long as I picked it up whenever I stumbled upon it, I eventually had enough. Assassin's Creed Odyssey has come under quite a bit of criticism, both from fans and professional reviewers, because roughly halfway through the main plot there is a big difficulty spike that requires quite a bit of grinding to overcome, or the purchase of an XP doubler with real money, at least in theory, because I encountered no such thing because of the way I play the game. I regularly set aside the main story threads on purpose, so I could venture out and experience the side stories or complete the areas on the map. There's more than enough content in the game to make the XP doubler completely unnecessary. I don't really understand the mindset of people who buy a massive game like this, knowing full well what it entails, and then they whine that there's too much to do and mark the game down because of it. It's because of fools like this that we will end up with trimmed down experiences, and the days of 100+ hour RPGs will become a thing of the past. I for one hope that Ubisoft take no notice of this and continue down the RPG path that they have for these last few games in the series, though I wouldn't be surprised if the next one was a lot more streamlined in order to please the masses, unfortunately. Assassin's Creed Odyssey doesn't vastly change the mechanics that were put in place for Origins, it just deepens them and makes this game much closer to a full-on RPG, like Mass Effect, than the action-adventure games that this series used to be. That will probably piss some people off, but I happen to love RPGs, so I say bring it on. There's absolutely no denying that Odyssey is fantastic value for money, because you can very easily spend over 100 hours playing it. There are also quite a few choices that you make throughout the game that will affect the ending, so you could theoretically go through the whole thing again as the sibling you didn't pick the first time, and make totally different decisions. I may well do this one day, but not for quite a while. It's such a big time commitment, and I have other massive games waiting for me. If the massive scope of Odyssey is putting you off from playing it, then I would say don't let it. Take your time with it, have breaks from time to time if you need to. Ubisoft have already said that there is no new game in the Assassin's Creed series next year, so that will give you plenty of time to work your way through this one gradually. I personally enjoyed pretty much every minute of the 110 hours I spent with the game, and I'm not done yet. I still have a few provinces where I need to finish up some question marks, and of course there's still 5 more episodes of DLC and free quests to look forward to. I will still be dipping into Odyssey for months to come, but I am glad that I can also play something else in between.